Welcome back to OG Paranormal's lesser-known haunted location series. When most people think of Alaska, they picture towering mountains, endless forests, glaciers, and some of the most breathtaking wilderness on Earth. But beneath its incredible beauty lies a history filled with hardship, isolation, tragedy, and mystery. Many of Alaska's ghost stories aren't found in famous hotels or popular tourist attractions. Instead, they linger in forgotten mining camps, abandoned military sites, and remote buildings where history seems unwilling to let go. Tonight, we're exploring 3 lesser-known haunted locations across the last frontier. Whether you believe in ghosts or simply enjoy the stories history leaves behind, these locations have earned reputations that continue to intrigue locals and paranormal investigators alike. Let the journey begin. Location 1. Independence Mine State Historical Park. High in the mountains near Hatcher Pass sits one of Alaska's best-preserved gold mining communities. Founded in the 1930s, Independence Mine once employed hundreds of miners who worked through harsh winters and dangerous conditions searching for gold. Life here wasn't easy. Temperatures often dropped well below freezing. Avalanches threatened workers every winter, and mining accidents were an unfortunate reality. Long hours underground took both physical and emotional tolls on everyone who lived there. When gold prices changed after World War II, the mine eventually closed, leaving behind dozens of empty buildings that still stand today. Visitors describe the town as feeling frozen in time. Many report hearing footsteps echoing through empty structures when no one else is nearby. Some have claimed to hear distant voices drifting through the mountain air despite being completely alone. Inside several of the remaining buildings, visitors have reported hearing the sounds of tools striking rock. Others have described doors opening and closing on calm days with little or no wind. Photographers occasionally report strange figures appearing in windows that disappear upon closer inspection. Park employees generally attribute many experiences to old buildings settling, shifting mountain winds, wildlife, and the powerful atmosphere of the abandoned town. Still, some visitors leave convinced they weren't entirely alone. Perhaps the spirits of hard-working miners continue walking the paths they knew so well. Or perhaps the silence of Alaska's mountains simply allows the imagination to wander. Either way, Independence Mine remains one of Alaska's most atmospheric historic locations. Location 2. Fort William H. Seward. Our next destination takes us to southeast Alaska. Fort Seward was established in 1902 as one of Alaska's earliest permanent military installations. Built shortly after the United States purchased Alaska from Russia, the fort served soldiers stationed in an isolated and unforgiving landscape. Military life could be difficult. Long winters, harsh weather, disease, accidents, and the loneliness of being stationed thousands of miles from home weighed heavily on many service members. Although the fort eventually closed as an active military base, many of its historic buildings remain. Over the years, residents and visitors have shared unusual experiences. Some report hearing military boots walking across wooden floors late at night. Others claim doors slam without explanation. Lights have reportedly turned on and off by themselves. Several people have described hearing conversations coming from empty rooms. A few have even reported seeing what appears to be a soldier, dressed in an early 20th century military uniform. The figure is usually described as standing quietly before disappearing moments later. Employees working after dark have occasionally spoken of feeling watched inside otherwise empty buildings. Some rooms reportedly produce sudden cold spots that disappear just as quickly. Whether these stories are the result of old architecture environmental conditions, or something paranormal remains open to interpretation. Yet Fort Seward continues to build its reputation as one of Alaska's quietly haunted historic locations. Where are you watching from? Comment below and your location could be the next highlight of my series. Location 3. Kennecott Mines National Historic Landmark. Deep within Wrangell St. Elias National Park sits one of the most remarkable abandoned industrial communities in America. The town of Kennecott was built after enormous copper deposits were discovered in the early 1900s. For decades, workers lived and labored in this isolated mountain settlement. The work was dangerous. Heavy machinery operated around the clock. Industrial accidents claimed lives. Avalanches and harsh weather constantly threatened the community. By 1938, the mine closed, leaving behind a nearly abandoned town that still fascinates visitors today. Many who tour Kennecott describe an eerie stillness unlike anywhere else. Some report hearing machinery operating despite the buildings sitting silent for decades. Others claim to hear metal striking metal somewhere deep inside the abandoned mill. Several visitors have reported unexplained footsteps following them through empty corridors. Park staff occasionally hear stories from tourists describing shadowy figures standing inside windows. When approached, the figures vanish. Photographers have also claimed to capture strange silhouettes that cannot be identified. Some visitors report feeling overwhelming sadness inside certain buildings. Others describe sudden chills despite wearing warm clothing. As with many historic industrial sites, there are reasonable explanations. Old buildings creak. Wine travels through broken windows. Wildlife moves unseen around the structures. Yet many visitors leave believing the mine has somehow preserved more than just its history. Some say the echoes belong to workers who never truly left. Alaska's haunted history isn't defined by famous ghost tours or crowded attractions. Instead, many of its stories survive in remote places, where nature has slowly reclaimed what people once built. These abandoned mines, military forts, and isolated settlements remind us how difficult life once was in America's last frontier. Whether the reported hauntings are paranormal events, environmental phenomena, or simply the power of history affecting our senses is something each visitor must decide for themselves. Sometimes the most compelling ghost stories aren't about proving the existence of spirits. They're about remembering the people who lived, struggled, and died in places many have forgotten. Thank you for joining Haunted Tales as we explored 3 of Alaska's lesser-known haunted locations. If you've ever visited one of these places or experienced something unexplained in Alaska, we'd love to hear your story in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Haunted Tales, and share it with fellow lovers of history and the paranormal. Until next time, stay curious, stay respectful, and remember, not every story stays buried.